Hello everyone and welcome to another Course in Miracles lesson. My name's Janet Melody and today we're on lesson 66, which is quite a big one today. So we're going to deep dive into this lesson, and if you've never heard of this book, you want to read the lesson on your own, then check the links under this video and it will take you directly there. So our statement, as always, we have a statement to keep in our minds today, and that is my happiness and my function are one. So being happy and our function in life is to be happy. So happy, happy. That's what we're trying to put into the mind. Well, it's in there. It's like clear through to the other side, the part that is kind of blocking and that we keep getting distracted by and living our lives by. We're trying to get to that whole mind of happiness. So it's almost like getting the ego on board, or the ego thinks it's going to be destroyed, but it's like we are just trying to align with our truth and let the ego see that that's what we're about to accept, and it has to relinquish its control, because it's a controlling little mechanism in the mind that wants to direct this vehicle when really the vehicle is not its to direct. The body is just part of the oneness, and it is going with life's flow. When the ego comes in, it wants to describe the body, it wants to describe others and objects around it, and it wants to control where everything is going. When we let go, we just live life with the flow, then things do get really, really beautiful and happy. And that's what we want to be. We want to be happy. So keep the statement in mind: my happiness and my function are one. You have surely noticed an emphasis throughout our recent lessons on the connection between fulfilling your function and achieving happiness. This is because you do not really see the connection. Yet there is more than just a connection between them. They are the same. Their forms are different, but their content is completely one. The ego does constant battle with the Holy Spirit on the fundamental question of what your function is. So does it do constant battle with the Holy Spirit about what your happiness is. It is not a two-way battle. The ego attacks and the Holy Spirit does not respond. He knows what your function is. He knows that it is your happiness. So yeah, the ego is a battle, wants to cause problems, and the Holy Spirit just sits and knows. It's like, I don't need to prove anything to you. I know you're happy, you're joyous, you're loving. Just accept it. But the ego's like, no, and we need to just quiet that ego up. So today we will try to go past this wholly meaningless battle and arrive at the truth about your function. We will not engage in senseless arguments about what it is. We will not become hopelessly involved in defining happiness and determining the means for achieving it. We will not indulge the ego by listening to its attacks on truth. We will merely be glad that we can find out what truth is. Gosh, truth just sounds so like, when you hear about the ego's just like going on, it is a relief just to let it go. It's like, oh, let it go. Our longer practice period today has as its purpose your acceptance of the fact that not only is there a very real connection between the function God gave you and your happiness, but that they are actually identical. God gives you only happiness. Therefore, the function He gave you must be happiness, even if it appears to be different. Today's exercises are an attempt to go beyond these differences in appearance and recognize a common content where it exists in truth. Begin the 10 to 15 minute practice period by reviewing these thoughts. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me, therefore my function must be happiness. So yeah, 10 to 15 minutes, and it said like use a point in your day where you're going to keep this constant 10 to 15 minutes there, either in the morning or the night, wherever, or in the middle of the day, whatever feels right for you, that you know you can keep this at a consistent time. And then remember these thoughts today. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me. Therefore, my function must be happiness. That's the 3 statements that we're using during this 10 to 15 minute period. Try to see the logic in this sequence. Even if you do not yet accept the conclusion, it is only if the first two thoughts are wrong that the conclusion could be false. Let us then think about the premise for a while as we are practicing. The first premise is that God gives you only happiness. This could be false, of course, but in order to be false, it is necessary to define God as something he is not. Love cannot give evil, and what is not happiness is evil. God cannot give what he does not have, and he cannot have what he is not. Unless God gives you only happiness, he must be evil, and it is this definition of him you are believing if you do not accept the first premise. Yeah, so if we feel problems in our lives, we don't believe in that true essence of love, which is God, and that is always positive and happy. It's never coming from a negative, suffering perspective, because it can't. That's just what it is. And yet the ego, when that comes in, you feel the suffering, you've left your true function and that you've gone into the ego mind. The second premise is that God has given you your function. We have seen that there are only two parts of your mind. One is ruled by the ego and is made up of illusions. The other is the home of the Holy Spirit where truth abides. There are no other guides but these to choose between, and no other outcomes possible as a result of your choice but the fear that the ego always engenders and the love that the Holy Spirit always offers to replace it. And it's lovely to know that whatever's happening, the suffering, there is always love there to go into and to feel into and to see into and to hear into and to just be into, all encompassing. It's always there. Thus it must be that your function is established by God through his voice, or is made by the ego which you have made to replace him, which is true. Unless God gave you your function to you, it must be the gift of the ego. Does the ego really have gifts to give, being itself an illusion and offering only the illusion of gifts? Think about this during the longer practice period today. Think also about the many forms the illusion of your function has taken in your mind, and the many ways in which it has tried to find salvation under the ego's guidance. Did you find it? Were you happy? Did they bring you peace? We need great honesty today. Remember the outcomes fairly, and consider also whether it was ever reasonable to expect happiness from anything the ego ever proposed. Yet the ego is the only alternative to the Holy Spirit's voice. You will listen to madness or hear the truth. Try to make this choice as you think about the premise on which our conclusion rests. We can share in this conclusion, but in no other, for God himself shares it with us. Today's idea is another giant stride in the perception of the same as the same and the different as different. On one side stands all illusions, all truth stands on the other. Let us try today to recognize that only the truth is true. In the shorter practice periods, which would be most helpful today if undertaken twice an hour, this form of application is suggested. My happiness and function are one because God has given me both. It will not take more than a minute and probably less to repeat these words slowly and think about them a little while as you say them. So my happiness and function are one because God has given me both. So yeah, it is kind of like there's yourself and there's the Holy Spirit and there's the ego. And yourself and the Holy Spirit is where the union is joined to oneness. And the ego, it's like 1, 2, 3 is a crowd. It needs to go if you want to be happy. If you want to keep hold of the ego, you want to follow its guidance, you want to keep it guiding your life into all these, because half the time when we're letting the ego guide our lives, it is suffering because it's trying to figure out what it can't. It can't figure out what is coming because we don't know what is coming in life. Life is uncertain. So you have to relinquish it and let the ego let go of it, because it can't. It wants to reassure you. It wants to think, I can control this, I can figure this out, there's got to be ways, I know so and so, I've labeled these things, I've decided this is what happens, this is what goes. So with all of these things ready to go, we can make plans, we can plow forward, we can do. But no, really you can't. You've got to let go and live in the moment. You can do so many plans, but I mean, there's day-to-day decisions that we make have to come from the Holy Spirit. If we want to be happy, they have to come from a place of fulfillment, from peace, from serenity, from those areas, because then even the mundane tasks can become joyful. I mean, yesterday I was doing a task on the computer and it was just constantly going wrong, and I was getting frustrated, and it was like, because it wasn't going the way it should have been going, and things were keeping crashing, and I did feel myself getting annoyed, but then I let go, and I thought, leave it to the wonder of what could unfold from this thing's happening. It's showing me something. Maybe I'm not meant to go down this path. Maybe I'm meant to choose a different path. It's like there's all little signals in so many different ways, and you can see them from different perspectives. You can see them from the perspective of excitement. Even a little mundane task, like, oh, it's going wrong. It's like, whoa, what's this teaching me? What is this task teaching me? Am I meant to go in a different direction? Or if a person, you're having this, it's showing you something. Maybe it's time to change that dynamic, that place where you're going, because if you're suffering a lot and things aren't changing, maybe it's that, well, I just need to go a different way. It's like, send them love and follow the path of least resistance. So yes, happiness, happiness, happiness. Think of being happy today all the time. You are happiness. That's what we're meant to be. And remember, half of the brain, we're in two halves here. We got the happiness side that we fall into, and we know when we get into that, it's like, we felt it. We know what that feels like. But then there's the other side, that's sort of all the chaos and thoughts and organization, and I've got to get everything right, and it's very busy, it's controlling, it needs to have everything labeled, it's got to have it all now, and it thinks if it gets all of this, it will be happy. That is false. You can be happy right now, because that's what your function is. That's what this lesson is really wanting to drill home today, and to get us to listen and feel into the Holy Spirit within us, because once we feel in that, it accepts. It's like, I've been waiting here all this time, just come. I feel you, you come to me, and we have this union, and then I lose you again to this ego mind that has taken you away, and just let the externals, because it's the externals that do really in here, how the externals are labelled, that two-way that takes us away from just having the moment as a happy moment. It could be snowing, it could be raining, it could be whatever weather, because sometimes we think happiness is only when it's sunny. You could be happy when it's raining, because you could see it like, oh, the joy, the rain is coming down, it means that plants are being fed, that everything's being watered. It's why we have beautiful greenery around us, There's just so many things, the perspectives we can change to bring it back to a happy vibe. There really is. It's just a question of going into that and changing your perspective on things. Change it. Change it all today. Whenever you feel a moment of distress, whatever it is, change it. Change it to something that makes you feel happy. However, be creative. You're the creator of your life, so be creative with what you can do with this lesson today. Enjoy it. Let it really bring that smile on your face, so you have a wonderful day, and that smile sort of goes from your face into you, so you just feel it all joyous today. So let's try. We've all got this journey to do. We're going to be challenged, because that's what life does. It gives us these little challenges, but it's for us to overcome, and we can all do it. I have faith in you, so go, go, go. Enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye.